friends, my name is Barrett, Laurie, and thank you for joining me for my 5th Crohn's vlog. I'm doing these monthly at this point, mostly because of how much better I'm feeling. About a week ago, I titled my journal entry for the day, "Is this what it feels like to be human?" And I think that pretty well sums up where I'm at in my journey with Crohn's disease at this point. I was diagnosed with complex perianal Crohn's disease. My Crohn's presents itself in the form of anal fistulas. I will link to a video right here that will tell you all about anal fistulas. And my treatment was supposed to have been a fistulotomy. I ended up getting a seton placed, which is a draining seton, not a cutting seton. There are different kinds. And I have talked extensively about my experience with having a seton and having it removed here in this playlist, the Let's Talk About Butt Stuff playlist here on my channel. I will link to that playlist right up here so that you can look through the videos and find what best applies to you in your situation. So the other thing I wanted to really talk about now that I'm feeling better is I'm doing a lot of looking back. I'm doing a lot of reflecting. And one of the things that is really hard right now is my mental health. And mental health is always an issue when you're in flare. I think mental health is always something that is an issue for people that are working through a chronic illness. I did a video with my sister, who is a provisional licensed family practice counselor, and I will link to the video I did with her up here talking about chronic illness and mental illness. But there is always a mental struggle that comes with chronic illness. There is an element that is a mental game. Some of it's physical, yes, the pain, the surgeries, the recovery, all that stuff is physical, but the mental is just as bad. What I would say is that we're in a really unique time. You know, I live in Missouri, and right now we are the center of a COVID burst of the Delta variant right now. As someone who's immunocompromised, I have to be worried about this. I have to be concerned about where I go. I still can't leave my house. Even if I wanted to take a job or work outside of my home, that would be impossible while I'm on immunosuppressants and the Delta variant's going like crazy in Missouri, and our governor refuses to do anything to mitigate the public health crisis that's crushing my state. That adds to my mental health and my anxiety level of who's vaccinated, who's not. So it's a struggle. It's a mental health struggle to wrap your brain around. There are people out there who, simply because they do not want to get vaccinated, are not only gambling their lives, but mine. And that's a lot. That's something that I am really trying to work through with counselor and get my head around and try to not be so angry and not so bitter against those that are unwilling to take a shot, to make sure that people like me around them are not impacted by their decision. It's a weird time. It's a weird time to be chronically ill. It is a really weird time to be immunocompromised. There's just so much that is frustrating and hard that I would really be missing something in sharing this experience with you if I didn't talk about what it feels like to be a prisoner in my own home, in my own life, because of the medicines I have to take to get this under control. Speaking about the under control part, and back to what I said at the beginning, is this what it feels like to be human? I had forgotten what it felt like to wake up without pain. About 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago or so, I woke up and I have a journal where I keep pain, I keep food, I keep how much water I'm drinking and all kinds of things. But a journal just kind of about my body, just to keep an eye on what's happening and what's going on. And I would recommend this for anyone out there who is suffering from any kind of chronic illness. It's a good idea to just keep a journal by your bed and do a daily check-in on how you're feeling. Is there any changes to your body that you can identify? And if so, make notes of them. Really helpful as you get to a better place to be able to look back and identify triggers maybe, or things that are not helpful in your recovery. At any rate, I'm looking at this journal entry and I talk about waking up and not experiencing any pain. That's wild. I didn't even know how to feel. It was so bizarre to kind of, I'd become so used to taking Tylenol. And I had this thought where I thought, should I not take the Tylenol? What if there's like some pain that comes later? I mean, I had that thing in my head of like, but I take Tylenol every day to control this pain, and you know, maybe it'll come back later in the day. I decided not to take Tylenol and decided to just listen to my body. I haven't had pain, y'all, in weeks. And it's really weird. Like when you've been in pain for a year and a half, it's the wildest thing to be like, wait a minute, you mean I don't hurt right now? But that's where I'm at. I'm gonna tell you a few other things, and this might get into the TMI category, so if you're not a crony or you're not somebody who's here because of anal fistulas, this might be too much for you. But the other thing that I've noticed that's been truly incredible, for the first time since my setons were removed in the fall of last year, I have zero drainage from my wounds. And in fact, I think one of them is closing. I'm gonna know for sure when I see my surgeon in a couple of weeks. But from just like the old field test, I am almost positive that spot is closed. I could be wrong, but it sure feels like kind of a scar and I can't find the hole anymore. So I'm like, wow, that could be amazing. But just the drainage, I don't think people understand the thing about fistulas is it's a way for your body to expel an infection. The draining of the pus part, that is constant. It never stops. Even after the setons come out, I think people think like, oh, that'll stop. For me, it did not stop until this Remicade was monthly. And I mean like clockwork. When I was in the second cycle of that, those 2 tracks dried up completely. And we're talking, folks, I was changing a gauze pad 2 times a day from March of 2020, and actually before that, really, from October of 2019 until October of 2020 when those setons, those drains were both removed. At that time, the drainage was still there. It was daily, it was constant. Didn't have to change them twice a day, but pretty regularly. And there were days where I would have something be off in my body and I'd have more drainage than usual. Usually towards that trough period where I'd start to have exhaustion and pain digesting and all kinds of problems. The last 2 weeks when I was still on 6-week Remicade cycles, that's when I would see the excessive draining coming during those 2 weeks. It's all gone. And it's wild. It's just so, I know it seems, I'm sure someone's out there watching this going like, well, why are you so surprised? I'm surprised because for a year and a half, this has been my reality. I really had wrapped my brain around, this is my life. This is what my life is gonna be. It's not gonna be any different. And suck it up and deal with it, buttercup. And I am just kind of getting to the place where I'm really excited about this is my life. Like I wake up not in pain. I can't even tell you the amount of productivity I've had in the last month. The things I am like blazing through that have been sitting on my to-do list for over a year that I can finally do because I'm not only physically better, but I'm incrementally mentally better. Yes, there are still some things I'm working through. I'm working through some of the bitterness we talked about a little bit earlier. One other thing mentally that's a little hard that I'm sure people out there will understand in the chronic illness space. I am a little bit angry and bitter about the insurance situation, right? Because what I recognize, what is so abundantly clear, is that my doctor ordered monthly Remicade infusions, the highest dosage of the chemo pill, all those things, in March of 2020. It took until May of 2021 to get monthly Remicade approved for my insurance company. And in that time, in that year and 3 months, I was in constant pain. I had the drainage that we talked about. Obviously, the mental anguish and stress. Never mind being on immunosuppressants, and I mean a maximum dose of an immunosuppressant in the middle of a global pandemic. So anyway, I don't think I've quite worked that out yet because there is so much deep-seated anger when I think to myself, I could have felt like this over a year ago. And the only reason I didn't, the only reason it wasn't done sooner was money and profits for shareholders. I went through all of that because of insurance. And that's really disheartening. As with these vlogs and what I told you I would do, I would give you a raw look inside my head. You'd get to see exactly what I'm working through, what I'm dealing with, and what this is like. And for me, those are things that stuck out to me the most for this vlog. Number one, my journal saying, is this what being human feels like? Because I'm still in shock every day when I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have to change gauze. It's just wild. It's just wild. And then, of course, there is the mental side of getting vaccinated and really thinking I was going to be able to rejoin society, at least somewhat, rejoin some kind of a normal-ish life once I was vaccinated. Of course, that's been hard to deal with. That isn't a reality. And then finally, dealing with the fact that I could have felt like this a long time ago, and I basically lost more than a year of my life. My name is Barrett, Laurie, and I want to thank you for joining me today. On this channel, I focus primarily on my dream of becoming a traditionally published author, but I also focus on my journey with chronic illness, specifically Crohn's disease. If you're suffering from Crohn's disease, specifically complex perianal Crohn's disease, my DMs are always open, so please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you are looking for someone that you can talk to about your experience with anal fistulas or Crohn's disease. I want to thank you all for joining me today. I hope everyone out there is staying healthy and well, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. And remember, love always wins.